You know, we had marketed your one of your videos in our group, and people kept commenting about your humor.
Hmm.
How important is humor to you, and how do you come up with it? I know you have a saying about uncovering humor, so can you talk about that?
Yeah, people ask me all the time, how do you add humor to a speech? I say you don't. Don't add humor to a speech, uncover humor within it, right? So where are you going to find the humor? When you add humor, it feels forced, right? And I used to do that. I used to force humor and I would get the laugh, but I had to go on a detour to get it. And so what you want to do is realize where you're going to find the humor. Here's where you're going to find it within your stories, more specifically within your characters, more specifically within your characters' dialogue, and even more specifically within the spaces and faces in between the lines. That's where you're going to find the humor. If you look at any of my stories on YouTube, you're going to see there's so much of the humor comes from dialogue, right? Give you a quick example. Here's how I've opened a number of my speeches. I say, I was afraid to come here, not because of you, but because so many years ago, I was traveling so much that my daughter, who was 6 years old at the time, actually decided to write me a note. Now imagine if you received this. It says, "Dear Daddy, I miss you. You are the best daddy in my whole family." Now, I got to be honest, up until I got that note, I thought I was the only daddy in the whole family. Hey, maybe I should stay off the road and make sure no more daddies are coming through. So let's dissect that for a second. Let's dissect that.
Yeah.
The first, one of the most important things you need to do in speaking is tease them before you tell them. You need to make them curious. Tease them before you tell them. So when I say I was afraid to come here, as my first words, they're already curious. Why? What did we do? What's wrong with us? You know, that sort of thing. And then I give them the dialogue. It's not even dialogue, it's written dialogue, right? My daughter, what was in her note, but that's what gets you, that line. And now here's what you do as a speaker. Here's how you can turn one laugh into three. The moment you hear your audience laughing, when you go back and listen to your recording, okay, you can't do it in the moment. You got to go back and listen to your recording. I always say what gets recorded gets rewarded, right? Go back and listen to your recording. And you hear your audience laugh. The question you have to ask yourself is, what's my audience thinking now? What's my audience thinking now? So when my daughter says, "You're the best daddy in my whole family," the audience laughs. But what do you think they're also thinking? Are there any other fathers?
Yeah.
Is there a stepfather? Is there this or that? That leads me to my tag online, which is, up until I got that note, I thought I was the only daddy in the whole family. Boom. So all I'm doing is answering the question going on in my audience's mind. Now, what are they thinking? Well, why is she saying that? Hey, maybe I should make sure no more daddies are coming through my face. Boom. Now I got three laughs instead of one. So if you can take every laugh you get and you can ask the question, what's my audience thinking now? Then you can turn one laugh into two or three. You turn in 20 laughs into 60 laughs in a keynote, right? All of a sudden, they're laughing all the way through. So I think that's very important. So dialogue, and then the faces that you give and the characters that you play. For example, do you remember what the 2012 Olympics was? Do you remember where that was? It was London.
Uh,
Now, do you know who the oldest participant in those Olympics was?
ooh.
Yeah, it was a 74-year-old equestrian from Japan. 74-year-old equestrian from Japan. So my 7-year-old son and I are watching this on TV, and unfortunately, all the commentators kept harping on was the guy's age, right? They just kept saying, "He's 74. Can you believe it? He's 74. By golly, he's 74. Finally, my 7-year-old son looked up and said, "Well, how old is the horse?"
Good point.
Now, I tell a whole story about that, and I give a point and so forth, never stop asking questions and so forth. But what I wanted you to see was I took on his characteristics. I became him. It wasn't just how old is the horse, it was the facial expressions. So it's the spaces and faces in between the lines that really make the lines work as well. So all of this goes together to uncover humor. And that's where you're going to find it within your story, within your characters, within your characters' dialogue, and within the spaces and faces in between the lines. Remember when my daughter said, when she wrote the note, "You're the best daddy in my whole family." You got to look at my face. You got to look at my face. And that helps make the audience laugh as well. So all of that is organic humor. And guess what? If they don't laugh, Who cares? It's still part of your story. It's still true. Whereas if you try to force humor in, if they don't laugh, it can be embarrassing.
Yeah,
So,
I think Kane understands that.
so don't force it, find it.